is Grace with ACTi Tech Support. This webinar is for the NVR3's advanced functions. Make sure that you have both phone connections so that you can hear me, but that you're also logged into the webinar on your computer so that you can actually see what I'm sharing on the actual screen. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and you should see the NVR3. Okay, so today's webinar is the more advanced functions of the NVR3. Let's go ahead and start with visual tracking. So as you can see on this particular camera, there are yellow boxes on the screen. This is what we call our visual tracking function. So this particular function is very useful, especially when you're trying to look around corners. You've got a million cameras, there's a huge building, lots of sites, etc. Okay, so instead of trying to remember every camera name here, every view name here, you can use visual tracking in order to create shortcuts between views of different cameras. So let's say, for example, okay, this particular camera is right next to camera number 4 here, okay? It's a sidewalk. So as you see, the people who are walking through here, they immediately show up over here. So let's say I want to see where they're actually going, see if they actually enter my building back door. So I can click on the back door shortcut, and immediately it will take me over to that view, okay? So the same thing if they were walking this way, and I want to see if they actually enter our doors here. I can click on the shortcut there, and I'll be able to immediately see where exactly they're going. Okay. So in order to set this up, it's very simple. What you want to do is you want to come into the setup here. So we can go into devices, click on camera number 4. And you'll see here on the main basic tab, okay, you will see visual tracking. And here you'll be able to see you can add additional boxes, select which camera in the system you want it to connect to. You can move around the box, you can create boxes, etc. Okay. Just so you know, not all of the cameras have visual tracking functionality on them. Okay, it does vary based on the actual camera model. So any camera can be jumped to, but you can't jump from necessarily any camera. So for example, this particular camera has visual tracking, but one of the other cameras it's jumping to, for example, the entrance does not have visual tracking functions. You'll see that it's not listed here, okay? So if you would like to be sent a list of various cameras with that particular functionality, please follow up with sales. Go ahead and CC me, and we'll make sure you get a list. But basically, what you can do is you can come into our ACTi website here. For example, the model that does have it, let's see here. If you go ahead and click on the specs here, it should tell you in the specs. So let me see. Analytics. Okay, maybe they haven't quite updated it yet. It is a newer feature, so we'll get that updated soon. But go ahead and shoot me an email if you want to go ahead and have those have that list out. Okay. All right, so that's how to set up the visual tracking. Let's go ahead and talk about embedding websites as well. On the enterprise and corporate versions, you can actually embed various websites, maybe websites to a particular PDF or a link that you need people to go to, or if you just want to have a nice display, all right? So if you can go ahead and go into the edit view function here, we can go ahead and remove the view here. We can go ahead and click on Create Web Page here, and you can go ahead and type in the URL. So let's say I want to embed the ACTi website. All I have to do is click Apply. It'll load for a little bit, and you see I'll be able to embed the web page right here. Okay, so sometimes there's a web page with specific instructions, okay, as to what to do in an emergency. Maybe you just want, it's just a nice display for the customer to show on their various sites, etc. There's just various ways that you can use that particular function, okay? All right, let's go ahead and review the Emaps function as well. So as you can see on this screen, there is a JPEG image uploaded as a background. On the corporate version of the NVR3, you can actually embed Google Maps, okay? And so what you can do is when you create a view, you can go ahead and click on the Edit View, all right? Let's get rid of this one. You can create a new map, right? You can upload images that you already had, okay, or upload a brand new one. We do accept JPEG only. And once you have it out on the screen, you can actually click and drag your cameras out onto the screen. Okay, you'll see a nice shadow that you can go ahead and point in the direction where the camera is actually looking at. Just so you know, the shadow is not to scale, okay? It's just for a general reference for you and your customer as to know where exactly the camera is, okay? And so what's nice about this eMap, not only can you drag out cameras onto the map, you can drag out views as well. Okay, so basically if you are looking at a particular view but somebody tells you something's going on at the site or you see notifications start popping up for the site, you can double click on the camera and it will automatically show you a live view image of what is going on. If you realize this is something you need to address immediately, you can click on the shortcut to that particular location and go ahead and see it. You can double click as well if you need to, all right? You can also click and drag any of the icons to the main page and double-click blow it up to see a really quick view. Okay, and as you can see here on my particular eMap, I do have a link back to the main page. And so that's one really nice way of jumping in between your different views, not having to remember what all of your camera names are, etc. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and go into some of the more advanced functions of the playback. Okay, so whatever cameras you had on the live view page, you're going to go ahead and have on the playback as well. There are various ways to search for your footage, right? You guys are already aware that you can click and drag. You have these green marks to let you know where motion occurred, okay? You guys, if you made any bookmarks, you can always use the bookmark search. So if you click on the bookmark search here on the left and click Start, you can search for a particular keyword. Search on a particular device. We made one earlier today for an image of a trespassing, and you can actually, it will go ahead and give you the results in thumbnail form. You can double click and it will automatically jump over to that spot on the timeline. Okay. But like I said, there are other advanced searches that we offer. So these searches down here, from access control to notification search, these are only available on the corporate edition. Okay, it will not be available on the NVR3, but event search, smart search, bookmark search are all available on the NVR3. So let's say, as you can see on your time bar, there is a lot of various green motion, and let's say you're really not sure what's a false motion, what's real motion, etc. So you can actually use the event search in order to help you narrow down your search. So if we go to event search, we can click Start. Let's say we are looking for motion on camera 13. So we can go ahead and get rid of all these other events, and we are just looking for when motion occurred. Okay. All right, and we can go ahead and click Search. So when we do that, like you can see, we get lots of results in thumbnail form. You can click and drag across all of these results, and that way you can see when it was a false trigger. So a lot of times, our door is particularly slow, and we like it that way. And so you'll see that this actually is not anybody coming through. It's probably just the door opening or closing, or maybe there's some other trigger. So you can see much more quickly who exactly you're looking for and when. Okay, so this is a really easy way to let the NVR do the work for you. Once you find your particular incident, all you have to do is double click and it will automatically jump to that spot. Okay. All right. Another search that we do offer is called the Smart Search. So this one is actually analyzing the footage, so I'm not going to execute it for you guys because otherwise it would just take way too long, okay? But let me see here. I think, yeah, it's the right camera. Okay. So what's going to happen is it's going to analyze the actual pixels in the footage. So a lot of times, maybe we set a motion box for the entire parking lot, right? You want it, or maybe not the entire parking lot, but maybe like these two cars, et cetera, or the sidewalk. But you just want to know when one particular object disappeared or motion in one particular region, right? And instead of using the event search that you just did, you can actually use the smart search. So let's say you know that you're looking for when this car disappeared, and you know that it was sometime between 8 and 9 a.m. today. So you can tell the footage to check, let's say, every 5 seconds, up to every 3,600 seconds. For example, 30 seconds. I wanted to look for motion in a particular area. If I just click on motion detection here, you will see that these shapes highlight up on the actual page. So you can either draw a rectangle or draw your own object. So I'm just going to draw my own, and now it's only going to analyze any time it saw motion occur in this region only. So even though my motion box might have been over this these 2 parking spaces or maybe 3, 4 parking spaces, I just want it to analyze this spot only. So that I can go ahead and click search, and it will give me the results in thumbnail form again, as you guys previously saw. Okay. Let's see. All right. Can a video archive be run through motion detection again with different settings? I'm afraid I don't quite understand the question. Do you mean you want different... Oh, okay. Yeah, so I guess that would be through the smart search, which I just showed. Okay, but basically if the camera was told only to look at this parking lot and not the sidewalk, if it was recording only based on motion, okay, then no, you cannot, you won't have footage from that time. Okay, so if it didn't record that particular spot, then no, you cannot. So unless you're recording full time, and then you can use this this smart search. Okay, you can't change the sensitivity again unless it's with this smart search. So if you have the recording and you just want to change looking for motion in a particular section, then yes, you can use the smart search. Otherwise, no. If the footage doesn't exist, it's gone. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the setup. Okay, so in the setup, what we have is okay. What we have is called the event tab, okay? So we have different events that you can set up on your NVR3. Some are for the server, some are for the camera, etc., okay? So on the server, I usually recommend setting up an event if the disk is suddenly not found, meaning the recording drive is not being detected, okay? So that definitely means you need to come out to the site and take a look. So there's various things that you can tell it to do, sending alerts, having maybe an error message pop up on the screen, sending email to yourself, okay? But most of the events that we allow are on the camera itself, okay? So this is a summary of all the events, but let's go ahead and go into one of the cameras. So if you want to set, let's say, events for motion in certain regions that there should definitely not be motion, you can go ahead. These are all the events that you can set up. Basically, to get there, you just want to double-click on this response section, and you will get this this editing page. Okay. And so you can upload a snapshot to the FTP, send an email to yourself, have a particular camera PTZ to a certain spot for a certain amount of time, and then go back to a certain amount of time as well, or to a certain spot as well. You can have this camera pop up on the live view page as a separate dialog box, have it go to a particular spot on the live view page, or even switching between views on the live view. So there's a lot of ways that you can get the attention of anyone who's sitting in front of the screen. Okay. All right, and for cameras that do come with analytics, there are various events that you can do that for as well. So for example, this camera, it has sound detection. Other cameras, it might have, for example, this camera has a built-in analytics, so it can have various events based on the analytics that are going on within the camera. Okay, so when you want to set up the events, set them up here, and then remember to come back into your schedule. Make sure that on the affected cameras, okay, you have these diagonal lines for event handling, okay? So, for example, you can click on this camera here. If I had this camera sending me emails, okay, between the hours of 5:30 and midnight, it's not going to be allowed to send me any emails. It is not allowed to handle any events that I've set up under the event tab. So if you don't want spam during certain times, if you don't want notifications, pop-ups, etc. during a certain time, you can go ahead and edit that event handling. Okay, you can make it very specific as well, only changing it for let's say the weekdays. So for example, if I gray out Sunday and Saturday, I'm not going to be allowed to touch those, and I can go ahead and highlight the schedule for the weekdays. Okay. All right. Another thing that is important to do for the camera settings, okay, before that. So if you do set up those email settings, okay, remember to come into the System tab here, Settings, and make sure you actually set up your SMTP server, okay? And so I believe right now Gmail should work, okay? They do keep changing their security settings on us, so it is sometimes touch and go, but it should be okay now. What you want to do is send a test mail, make sure that it works before you leave the site, okay? Another thing that you want to do, a lot of times your sites have limited amounts of bandwidth, okay, or maybe their live view isn't populating fast enough, things like that. So you can go ahead and use what is called dual streaming on the cameras. Okay, I did go over this a little bit during the basic settings, or the basic webinar, so if you already watched this, feel free to get some coffee. So, okay, so what you want to do is when you finish setting up the settings on your cameras under the video tab, make sure that you have your resolution, your bit rate, your max bit rate. Those three are all set up properly under Media 1 and Media 2, okay? And then after that, what you can do is you can come into the Basic tab here, and you can change the default live view stream to stream 2. So what this does is on the live view, it will give you stream 2 of the camera, but it will always be recording stream 1. So because we cap off the resolution on stream 2, it doesn't use as much bandwidth, but you don't lose any sort of quality when you review the footage or export it out when you're actually in the playback. Because a lot of times, especially when you have a lot of cameras up on the live view page, you can't actually tell the difference between a 5 megapixel and let's say VGA, okay? And so there's no need to use that bandwidth if it's not necessary, okay? So you can go ahead and use that. And on the live view page, depending on the version, sometimes it does automatically toggle between stream 1 and stream 2 for you, depending on how many cameras you have on the screen. Let me see. Maybe I can get it to show. Actually, 4. Yeah, so if I double-click on camera 4, here, let's do it again. So, for example, I have 2 cameras in the view right now, okay? And so you'll see when I click on camera number 4 here, you'll see here in the top of the page, it's currently on stream 2, which you can't really tell when it's in a 2x2 layout like this, okay? But let's say something is happening at this particular camera and you need to see good quality right away. Just double click on the camera, it'll automatically toggle over to stream 1 for you. And once you're done, just double click again, it'll go right back to stream 2. So it all handles the bandwidth for you on the live view page, as long as you have set up dual streaming functions in the setup. Okay, so make sure you have that set up under the basic tab right here, the default live view stream. Okay. All right. Mentioning real quick again, we do support Active Directory on the NVR3. If you want to set that up, basically you come into the user groups, hit add, and you can go ahead and import your domain user group. And so all of their usernames, passwords will all already be added in under the user tab here of the NVR3. Okay. All right. Okay, so in addition to that, another more advanced function of the NVR3 is there are plenty of requests for customers to receive mobile notifications based on various events that are happening on their cameras, okay? So when you need to set that up, let me see, maybe we're not on the right version. Yeah, we're not on the right version. Let me see here. Oh, I should also let you guys know that if you need to play with your own NVR, we actually do have a demo NVR that is available to you. It's located at nvr3.acti.com. Okay, and so this has various functions that you can play with. It's a really great site you can use to demo to your customers as well. In order to log in, all you have to use is your ACTi Member Center login and password. So if you don't already have one, go to www.acti.com and register. It takes 5 minutes. It's free. And then afterwards, you can come in here and go ahead and log in. All right? And I will go ahead and show you guys what that can look like. Okay, so we're not going to give you permissions to the setup, okay, but we will give you permissions to the playback and the live view, all right? And so we do usually try to keep this updated with the latest cameras, so feel free to demo any of the cameras here. You can play with the visual tracking here as well, okay? We do allow you to play with Google Maps as well. This is what it could look like if you're using NVR3 Corporate, what shortcuts to your views can look like, etc. If you want to demo any of the analytics, you can as well. For example, if you want to show the customer what ACTi POS with the NVR3 can look like, you can go ahead and click on these generators here, and they can go ahead and see what it can look like. We have various links to the applications on our website, so you don't have to look for it as well. Various vertical markets that you can see as well. If you're showing this to a school, you can go ahead and let them know that this is what it could look like, etc. Okay, and so just for you guys to know that this is available for you. Let me go ahead and log in so that we can show you the setup. Okay. System. Okay, here we go. So, okay, if you want those mobile client notifications, okay, you do need to download the ACTi mobile client app. Talk to sales as well about getting a license. Then what you want to do is you want to come into system here under settings, and then you can get to the notification server here and go ahead and put in the email, password, and project key that you receive, all right? And so I believe there's a max of 10,000 notifications a month for your phone, and there are various packages as well, in terms of how long you want these notifications to go on. So if you do want mobile client notifications, if your users have been asking about it, this is how, it's very simple to set up, okay, as you can see, and it is available on the NVR3 and our other NVRs right now. Okay, another particular function that I wanted to go over with you guys is called the event speed up recording. So previously somebody was asking, you know, can you change the motion sensitivity, and I said if you don't have the footage, it's gone, right? So what is the compromise, right, between recording full time, right, at really high bit rates and taking up all the storage space, and only recording on motion, but then what happens, right? What happens if somebody just was right under the trigger threshold, maybe you weren't, it wasn't quite accurate quite yet, and you guys weren't ready for it to be recording totally on motion. So you can use what is called the event speed up recording function. So if you come into the video tab here, what you want to do is you want to set it for, you want to set the frame rate for event recording mode. So what you'll see here is you'll get the non-event frame rate and the active event frame rate, which means this camera is set up to record all the time, but only at 1 frame per second, and as soon as it sees an event, meaning motion, digital input, any of those events, it will automatically bump up the frame rate to this value. So that way you get to minimize the amount of storage that you're using as compared to just recording full time at high frame rate, but also still try to minimize that amount of storage without losing any of that footage. So first you have to set it up here under the camera settings, and then under your schedule tab, all you have to do is set it for event recording, okay? And that's how you can set up your event speed up recording, okay? All right. Last but not least, this particular camera, camera number 16, it does have built-in analytics, which you can actually set up from the NVR itself. So if you come into this camera here, you come into the video tab, you can click on video analytics here, and you'll see if you click on setup, these are all the various video analytics that this particular camera supports. Okay, so you can set up line crossing from here, and so if we go ahead and want to create a new line, we can say direction in, timer 30 seconds, for example. I can drag it across the door, very straightforward, okay? And so, let's see, it's backward. But either way, this is how you can go ahead and set up your line crossing, for example, okay? There's forbidden area as well. If you go ahead and just add it, it will go ahead and set up a timer for you. Let's say I don't want anyone at this back door loitering ever. I don't want, for example. So we can go ahead and set the timer for that as well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this is where all of your video analytics are. If you need to set them up from the NVR, you can do so from here, okay? All right. Last but not least, in terms of advanced functions, that's about it for, I would say, the NVR3. But just so you know, once you do start having sites with multiple NVRs and you want to be able to manage all of your NVRs from one place, what you want to use is called the CMS, okay? So this is a separate software with separate licensing, and so once you want to get into this, make sure you talk to your sales rep first. If you want to just play around with it, you can. It is a free download on our download center. It does come with free licenses. So basically, it's almost the exact same interface as the NVR3, so there's nothing more for you to learn in terms of like where everything is located, okay? So as you can see, all of your views are here, your cameras are here. It's just on the NVR3, whereas on the live view page, you just see all your cameras. On the CMS, what you're seeing is all of your various NVR sites, and then if you open it up, it'll show you all of the cameras at that particular site, okay? So instead of adding in cameras, you're adding in NVRs with their cameras, and that way you can manage all of your NVRs from one place. You don't need to log in to every individual NVR. You can just log into your CMS, and everyone is then able to view cameras between different sites, okay? And again, with all the user permissions, you can always turn off certain sites, you can always turn off certain cameras that they're not supposed to be seeing, okay? And so it's very straightforward. If you go into the setup, again, instead of adding cameras, instead of adding devices, you're adding sources, you're adding the NVR. So when you add them in, make sure that you port forward each NVR, put their port forwarded address here, and put their internal address here. Okay. If you want to connect your CMS to multiple TV walls, okay, you can do so using the CMS. All right. So if you have multiple monitors that you want to be displaying various groups of cameras to, you want to go ahead and get the CMS and connect that up. So the TV wall, again, is also a separate software. You are going to have to put them on separate PCs from the CMS. And CMS needs to be on a separate PC from the NVR. So we do have standalone CMS that you can purchase from us, standalone TV wall that you can purchase from us as well. But if you want to use your own, that's fine. Make sure that it's all separate from each other, separate from the NVR. Okay? And once you add your TV wall in, you can go ahead and start adding in the cameras onto those screens. Thanks, guys, for listening to today's tutorial, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful week.